Hey guys, it's Miss Char, and today I'm here to share how to do a guided painting of, I call him Snowman Sam, but you can call him anything you want to. He's gonna be yours. And keep in mind, anytime we paint, you can paint it any way you want to. I'm just giving you some guidelines and showing you a couple of techniques. So, lots of fun. So the first thing I want to show you is what's going to be in your bag when you come to pick one up at the library. You're going to get a blue one that's already painted, and we did that so it didn't take so much time. You're going to get a canvas, okay? You're going to get 2 paint brushes, one to do some of the bigger things and one to do the lining if you want to do the outlining around your snowman and words and things. You're going to get a pencil just in case you don't have one at home. And that's just to pencil in some of the things that you might like to draw a little bit ahead of time. I always give myself just a little pencil drawing, and you don't want to draw it very dark because you want to be able to cover it with your paint. So just really, really lightly, just to give yourself an outline. You're going to get 2 cotton balls. That's what we're going to use to make the fluffy looking clouds in the background on the painting. You're going to get 7 different colors of paint, and you're going to have to provide this for yourself. This is just a cup of water and a paper towel that you might have at home so that you can clean your brush out in between colors. And then you're going to get a plate, and you can use this for a couple different things. If you want to make sure that your snowman's perfectly rounded, you can use the plate and trace around it to begin with. That's fine. But really what we're going to use that for is if you want to, you can put your paint on your plate so that you don't mess it all up. So let's say I'm going to use my white. I'm just going to put a little bit on my plate so that I can go to it and know that it's clean if I need to go back and get more. Okay? So that's all there is to it. So to get started, we are going to do the background of the painting first. Now, the only thing I'm going to put in first, though, are those fluffy white clouds, okay? So there's no rhyme or reason. Put them wherever you want to. All you're going to do is we're going to dip those cotton balls in just a little bit of the paint and get it in your paint, okay? But then kind of dab it off a little bit, okay? So that you don't have that whole mess of paint on there. And then you're just gonna do exactly that. You're gonna just dab and pull, okay? Dab and pull. And put them wherever you want to. Kind of leave yourself a little bit of room here. You know you're gonna put a nose in, okay? But your nose can go right over top of that as long as it's dry. It's not a big deal. So put them wherever you want to, just here and there. And put as many as you want to. I gave you 2 just in case you got one too wet or something and needed to use the second one. You really probably don't need it, okay? All right, so once that's done, you can go ahead and decide where you're going to put your nose. So take your pencil, just kind of in the middle of wherever you've drawn your little head, okay? And you want to do that close to the bottom of your canvas. Kind of maybe pencil in where you're going to put his little scarf, just so you can see just a little bit of an outline. Okay, so for the nose, all you're gonna do is make a triangle. Now, you can make it taller than my nose. You can make it skinnier than the one I've got. The only thing you need to make sure that you do is make sure that it points upward and that you round it a little bit on the snowman's face, okay? So keep in mind, again, you're only drawing it in lightly so that you just know where it's going to go. And the reason for doing that is we want to paint our white for our snowman next, but we don't want to paint white underneath that where we're going to put our nose, only because it'll take us coat after coat after coat of orange paint to cover over it if we do that, okay? So just kind of pencil in where you might want your nose to go, just real lightly. And again, make it skinny, make it fat, whatever you want to do. And then just round the bottom of it, Okay, so you have kind of an idea of where you're going to put it. Then we are going to go ahead and paint our snowman's face, okay, his head. Okay, so just take your bigger brush, because you got a lot to fill in, and you're going to want to fill in around where you have your nose. Okay, keep in mind, once the snowman's painted there, you can start looking at your nose a little bit. For me, mine's a little bit off the middle, so I'm going to bring my snowman's head out a little bit as I go, and so that I can see. If you've made a mistake with your blue, I included some blue too, so you can go back and touch that up if you need to at any time. So just go ahead and grab your big brush and let's start painting. Okay, so you're just going to do quick, even strokes. Give yourself your outline and then just fill it in. If your paint doesn't seem to be flowing real good on your canvas, mine's doing fine, but you can always wet your brush a little bit, and that makes it flow just a little bit better. It may not cover as great as it would, but it does make it flow easier onto the canvas. And don't worry about the blue showing through, because you can always go back, you can cover it again if you want to, but for me, I like the blue because that's kind of how, if I'm looking at a snowman outside, I'm going to see the kind of bluish shadows. So that doesn't bother me at all. Okay, just continue on until you get everything all done. Then, of course, you're going to have to let it dry a little bit, okay? Remember, too, that you're going to be painting down at the bottom, so you don't want to make it completely round. You want to leave it space for your scarf. And don't worry if you've already covered over that. You can cover over it again with the other color of paint that you're going to use. And when we're doing the scarf, do it whatever color you want to. Miss Char likes lime green and purple, so I did mine lime green and purple, but you've got plenty of other choices there if you want to choose something else. Okay? All right, and I see that when I'm looking at mine, I see that my nose is a little off kilter here, so I'm going to make my nose a little wider and to make it come out a little easier. Okay, I think if you want it to look like this one, you're going to need to give it a second coat, okay? So you are going to want to wait until it dries completely before moving on to the next step, okay? Because your colors will blend if they're too wet. Okay. If you don't have patience and you don't want to wait for it to dry on its own, you can always get out the blow dryer and just lightly heat it and hold it away from your canvas and let it dry. It's not a big deal. Okay. All right. Okay, so your next step then would be to do the nose. So we got to clean our brush out really good. I'm not going to do the second coat of white on mine today just because of time constraints. So I'm going to let you guys do that on your own. Again, don't worry about covering over anything. You can always touch it back up later. That's the fun thing about painting. So I would clean out my brush then if I had my 2 coats done. Never leave your brushes in water. So once you clean it out, dry it off and lay it aside. If you do, the bristles on the brush just don't hold up well if you leave them in water. So, okay, so let's go ahead, and while that's drying, let's go ahead and do our nose. So I want to outline my nose first with my smaller brush. And so I want to see what it looks like. So I'm going to put my nose in there. And again, my paint is wet, so keep that in mind. Yours hopefully will be dry by the time you're doing this. just a little bit wider here to make it a little bit more like it's in the center. And just fill it in. If you want to, you can use the bigger brush for this. It doesn't matter which brush you use. For me, I have a little more control when I use this little brush, so I can give it a nice point at the end if I want to. If you want your nose to have a second coat of paint, you've got plenty of paint there to do so. And again, if you want to make sure that your paint stays nice and clean, and you might want to use it later, pour it out onto your plate first, okay? You can always just throw that plate away at the end. And if you want to get adventurous, you can always mix colors on that plate too and come up with different colors than what I gave you. That's kind of fun too. So just make sure that when you're doing your nose that you give it a little bit of rounding at the bottom, okay? That's going to make it look like it's coming right off of his face. And you want to smooth it out as much as you can. Make your brush strokes all go in the same direction. You want to pull them up. Okay. Once that dries, we're going to put in some black accents on his nose so it looks like a carrot. Okay, so the next thing I would do while that's drying, I'd go ahead and we'll work on our scarf. So for my scarf, I like the lime green. So I'm going to choose the bigger brush, and I'm going to just take it across the bottom of my snowman. And I'm just going to take it all the way down to the bottom of my page, or the canvas, all the way down. And I'm just kind of round it off a little bit at the bottom. It doesn't matter how wide it is or anything. Your snowman's neck may be a little different than my snowman's neck. So take it as far as you want to. And then just fill in your color. And if you pull it all the way down and off the edge of your canvas, it'll get a little smoother finish for you. Just fill it all in. And you can kind of see what that's going to look like, okay? Now the fun thing about that is, when you get ready to do the dots, I just use the bottom of my paintbrush and I dipped it in my purple. So I would recommend though that you wait and let your green dry first before we do that, okay? When you're doing it at home especially, because you don't want the paint to smear, okay? So while we're waiting on that to do, I'm going to clean my brush out and let that dry a little bit. If your water gets too gunky, don't be afraid to go get some new, empty it out, and get some new. But dry your brush off, make sure that there's no green paint left over in it. Okay, then you can go ahead and we'll do the dots for the white snow now. That's kind of a neat, fun thing to do. So you don't have to use the brushes I gave you. If you want your snowflakes to be bigger, you can use something else. You can use the end of a pencil. You can use a bigger paintbrush. If you have one at home that has a bigger end on it, you can use that. Doesn't matter. Or if you want to draw snowflakes that aren't round, you can draw the snowflakes, you know, that have the crisscrosses. Those are fun snowflakes. So you can do whatever you want to. This is your painting. You make the snowflakes any way you want to. But just to do this, you just dip it in paint and just start putting them here and there. Okay? This is making little tiny snowflakes, okay? And you're just trying to give it the illusion of it's snowing outside. And the snow's coming down and your Snowman Sam's enjoying every minute of it. All right. So I've got some smaller ones in there. I'm going to go ahead and clean that bottom off. Now I'm going to add some of those bigger ones, okay? And again, like I said, if you want yours really big, find something else that makes really big ones. Okay. For that one, when I dipped it in, it didn't make it bigger, as big as I would have liked. So I'm taking the brush and I'm kind of twirling it a little bit. That's making it just a little bit bigger. And you can always go back and put another dot right next to it to make it bigger as well. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. See, I put it right next to it so that it made it bigger. And you can just do that wherever you want to on your canvas, okay? All right, so just give them lots of snow. Now, if you want to give it a blizzard, you can do that too. Something else that I have done in the past that's always neat and makes it look really truly like it is snowing. I've taken an old toothbrush that I didn't use anymore, and of course if you're going to try that, please get permission to do it first, and definitely do that someplace where you're not going to splatter anything. So maybe outside, maybe Mama let you step outside to do that. So if you're doing that, you want to just load your toothbrush up with some paint. Just take your paintbrush and put it on top of your toothbrush. And then you can take a pencil, you could take your paintbrush, you could even take your finger, and just kind of hold your toothbrush and go like this across the bristles toward your painting, and it splatters it so that it looks like it's snowing. And that's a lot of fun too. Okay, so if you have given your snowman your second coat of paint, you might want to go ahead now and outline him. So to outline him, you're going to use the smaller paintbrush. And you don't have to do this. If you like your snowman just like he is and you don't want him to have that outline, you don't have to put it on there, okay? But I just want to show you a little bit of how to do that. So just take the tiniest bit of paint on your paintbrush. You don't want to get it too much. And then I always start at the top of my head. You can start wherever it's comfortable for you. And do note, make sure that your paint's dry so that you aren't going to get your hand in it. Now my paint here is wet, so I may get it in there. So, all right. So, and then just start and gently outline your snowman. Don't worry if you make a mistake. You've always got extra paint, and you can go back and fill it in, okay? And then you can just continue and do the same thing on the other side. And again, it does not have to be perfect. Have you ever seen a perfect snowman? Me neither. No. The fun part of snowmen is that they're not perfect. Okay. So if I went ahead and made a couple of my spots just a little bit thicker so I could show you that you can go back and fix it, okay? So just dip in, after you've cleaned your brush, of course, dip in and come back out here, and you can thin it back out so that it matches the other, okay? Same thing right here. And if your paint would happen to be wet, don't worry about that, because that's just going to look like a shadow, and it's going to look perfect. Okay, so you can continue outlining yours once you get it all done. Now mine, if I'm truly doing that to have a snowman painting, I'm going to go back and fill that and do my brush strokes so that they all go the same way and that you don't see so much of the blue. So take that same thing that we did and outline your scarf at the bottom. As you can see, I went ahead and I just put a couple lines across mine because I thought that made it look cute, more like a scarf. So you can do that. If you want to go ahead and put on your face now, the cheeks, that's also kind of fun. I think I'm going to use the other cotton ball for that. because that seems to be pretty easy to do. So again, you don't want too much paint on there. You just want to be able to dab it on and just kind of choose where you think his cheeks ought to be and give him a little dab of paint. If you want it to look more circular, you can make it more circular by using your paintbrush. Again, anytime you wet your paintbrush, that's going to allow you to move that paint around a little bit. So if you want it to look a little rounder, we can make it rounder just by making our paintbrush go in circles. Okay, now while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put in my smile. You can make your smile any way you want to. Maybe you want him to have a goofy grin. Maybe you want him to just have a smile like Snowman Sam here for me has. You make it any way you want to, okay? It's your smile. All right, let's see. Okay, so this time I decided to give him kind of a goofy grin. And I have to be really careful because my paint is still wet. And when I hold my picture up like that, it wants to run. So I'll go back and fix it a little bit here. Okay, so while that's drying, then we'll go ahead and, if you want to add eyes to your snowman, you could do that now. So I would suggest if you're going to add eyes, add them up close to the nose so that it looks like he's looking up. And just start out by dipping it in and putting your eyes where you want them, okay? They can be as big or as little as you want them to be. Remember, you kind of want them to be looking up. They don't have to be perfectly round. They can look like pieces of coal. Coal is not perfectly round. If you don't want eyes, you can do just like I did with Snowman Sam over here. I didn't add any eyes to him. Okay. The only thing you need to finish on your scarf is adding the purple dots, if that's the color you chose. Again, I would put out a little bit of paint on my plate if I wanted to keep it to use for later. And then just start putting your dots any place you want to. Again, if you want your dots bigger or smaller, that's up to you. You can use anything you've got around the house to do that with. And just put them anywhere you want to. They don't have to be any place special. Just a dot here and a dot there. Maybe you want stripes. You can do stripes on yours. It doesn't matter. So just do it any way you want to. Okay, so when you have that all done, and I'm not going to go ahead and go through the process because you can see mine, then you want to go ahead and outline your scarf just like we did the snowman's head. Take your black and do the outline all around, just like this, and around here. My paint is not dry enough for me to do that right now, so I'm not going to show you how to do that, but I can show you here. So just outline your scarf. And if you want to just give it, I gave it a couple little highlights here and there. And again, add those little straight lines just to give it a little bit of character. Then you can go to your nose. You're going to outline your nose just like we did everything else. Just take your black on the outer edges. To make the snowman's nose look like it's a carrot, you just want to take, again, just a little tiny bit of paint, take it to your dip it in and then take it to your plate and brush off a little bit so that you only have it on the very tip of the smaller brush. And then you just want to make a couple of lines here and there. You don't want to give them any, they don't need to be any specific length apart or any length. You just want to give them just a little one here and a little one there, and that makes it look like the carrot. And then of course give your nose the circular bottom so that it looks like it's coming out of his face, okay? Then if you want to, you can write the word "let it snow." Take your pencil. I always, when I'm drawing, I outline things. I wanted to make it look fun. I didn't want to make it straight across. But if you want to make yours straight across, there's plenty of room there to write "let it snow." Maybe you just want the word snow, okay? Maybe you want believe, maybe you want your name on there. It doesn't matter what you put on there, and you can do it any color you want to. Again, Miss Char just matched hers to her scarf because, lime green is my favorite color. If you don't want to put a word up there, you don't have to. Just fill your sky with snowflakes. That's fine too. It's your painting, okay? But if you decide you want to do it, again, write your word in with your pencil, "let it snow." Just put it wherever you want to. It can fit, again, straight across if you want it to. I kind of liked it so that it kind of went around my snowman, okay? So just pencil in your letters, outline them with a color. I used black. If you want purple, use purple. But outline your letters so that you can read the word. And then when I wanted to, I just highlighted my letters again. So I went over them with a second color, okay? Mine was lime green. You can do whatever you want to. And that should really finish off our picture. So once you have all of those steps in, your picture should be beautiful. So if you would, once you're all done with your painting, share it in the comments. Have Mom take a picture so that Miss Char can see what you did. And if you have any questions or anything like that, please don't hesitate to ask. I do watch the videos so that I can make sure that I answer questions when people do ask them, or you can call the library. Our number here is 419-933-8564. And I hope you enjoy painting with me today. I love to paint, so use the leftover paint for some other project that you might have. Maybe you'll discover that you really are an artist, and this is the start of big things for you. Have a wonderful day.